We are in the final phase of Trump's criminal hush money trial. The former president's legal team wrapped up their closing arguments earlier today. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now. Jessica, thank you for being here. Can you talk about the strategy for the defense today? Clearly, they wanted to disparage Michael Cohen's credibility, and I wonder how you think they did.
So I think they did about as well as they could, in the sense that they said Michael Cohen is key to this case, and he is somebody who you cannot trust. He's not just a liar, but he's somebody who, if he's going to lie, it's going to be about this, because he wants revenge. He hates this defendant. And so the defense spent hours saying, in a variety of different ways, sometimes explicitly, sometimes implicitly, Michael Cohen is a liar, and Michael Cohen is the thing that connects any alleged criminal wrongdoing to the former president. Now, whether or not that lands with the jury, I don't know, because I think the prosecution also had a very good response to that.
Well, this is a man who also admitted he was a thief on the stand. So in addition to everything you just laid out, how is the prosecution going to respond to that? And what can they tell jurors in these final moments to make their case?
So I think a couple of things. One, with respect to Michael Cohen, the prosecution, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the reporting out of the courtroom indicates that they said something like, we didn't buy him from the witness store, okay? We know he's not perfect. We know that he's lied, but let's think about his motivation in this particular case. And then what the prosecution seems to be pivoting to, which I think is really important, is actually Michael Cohen isn't key to the case. Think about everybody else you heard from. Think about David Pecker. Think about the evidence that you saw, and think about what makes sense. Over and over again, the prosecution's going to say, not only were the things that Michael Cohen said corroborated, but think about the story that we told you. Does it make more sense that Michael Cohen in this moment would be lying and would make up, frankly, a story that in and of itself has problems, which if you're going to lie, you probably want an airtight story? Or does it make sense that everybody else is telling a consistent story of trying to, and here's the prosecution's theme, undermine the election, bury this story of the alleged affair so the voters didn't hear about it?
And of course, jurors will try to answer that question soon. What can we expect from deliberations, and how soon could there be a verdict?
So I will say the faster the verdict comes, I think the better it is for the prosecution. Now, this is the first moment that the jurors are going to be able to go back and talk about the one thing they all have in common, which is that they're sitting as jurors on this historic case. They'll go back to the jury room, they'll elect a foreperson, they'll take a vote to see about where they are on this case. And then depending on where they are, we could hear very quickly. If this is a hung jury, then this is going to drag out for days. But one thing to note, I think Judge Merchan, if they say we can't come to a conclusion, I think Judge Merchan will send them back and say, keep trying. He doesn't want this to end in a mistrial.
And if Trump is convicted, what could sentencing look like for the former president?
So this is interesting because the defense said today in closing arguments, don't send this man to prison. And Judge Merchan actually had to give a clarifying statement to the jury where he said, sentencing is up to me. And part of that is because it's not at all a fait accompli that there would be a prison sentence in this case. This is a nonviolent crime, first-time offender. And so what would happen? One, there would be a sentence that may or may not include prison time. And two, you better believe if there's a conviction, there will absolutely be an appeal. And there are a couple of live issues, frankly, for an appeal.
And is there the possibility that we see handcuffs on the former president, that we see him being led away as he's processed?
So it is possible. I will say we're working a little bit without a net in the sense that this is not a typical defendant. You and I don't talk about the typical case. We're talking about this case because it involves the former president. And so decisions that involve whether or not to take him back handcuffed, to process him and put him in custody, I think those are decisions where history does not give us a huge amount of guidance, frankly.
That's right. This is a historical case. Thank you, Jessica Levinson, for all of your input.